with invisible illnesses, figure out how to live a healthy and active lifestyle. Um, I had one for a while. I had one for a while and everything went to hell about a year ago, almost a year. Wow. It has been 10 months. It has been 10 months of it just anyway. I'll get back there because I'm freaking determined. I refuse to take no for an answer on this. Um, but let's talk about the fear of failure and the fear of success. Did you know they're actually really closely related? Because they are. This information, excuse me, is from psychcentral.com. If you fear failure, here we go. If you have a fear of failure, you might have a track record. Maybe your history isn't so stellar. Mine's not. I'll own that. Um, if you were criticized or punished for your mistakes, it's funny when I wrote that down, I actually had something that's so weird how little things stick with you, but I had a flashback. I was in the 6th grade and I guarantee you that I'm not even going to name her because I don't want, it's not about that. She would have never done this had she realized the impact. It was just a split second thing. And I know her. I'm very confident in saying she would regret the hell out of it if she knew how bad it impacted me. But I was in the 6th grade. The teacher misspelled a word on the board, and I wasn't rude about it, but I was like, "Oh, she's gonna be so proud of me. Hey, hey, excuse me, but you misspelled that word." And boy, she lit me up. Oh, I like, "You've never made a mistake?" Well, I know now as an adult, I know she wasn't trying to be mean. She was embarrassed. She didn't mean to get caught out, and she didn't expect a kid to call her out on it. And again, I wasn't rude. I'm not generally a rude person, never have been. But that stuck with me, and it really did have a big impact on me speaking up in class or even at work, to be honest. So weird how little things will stick with you like that. Maybe you fear failure because you are a perfectionist. Well, guess what? You're screwed because perfectionism, there's no such thing as perfect. The only perfect person was Jesus Christ, and you ain't it. So let that idea go. All you're doing is making your life and the life probably of those around you pretty miserable for nothing. A lot of people, their value, their sense of self-worth is tied to performance and accomplishments. We live in that kind of world, really, don't we? People fear failure because they doubt their abilities or because they have a really narrow definition of failure and success. And by the way, by the way, there is a world of difference between I failed to reach my goal and I'm a failure. Now that's obviously there's a world of difference, right? But most of us, when we talk to ourselves, we're lazy and we we don't look at it from a positive perspective. We're very tend to be harsh self-critics. No one's going to be harder on us than we are on ourselves. But you tend to take it that way. But it's not a failure. You just figured out that okay, that did not work for me. I got to try something else. In fact, I have a good example of this. Bread. I have to go gluten free. I have to be gluten free because when you have Hashimoto's disease, gluten kicks up the autoimmune response against my thyroid. I don't need that. So I'm going gluten free, but I really want to I like bread. I don't like to eat bread all the time, but once in a while, I really like good bread. So I figured I'll just learn how to make it. My first attempt was an absolute disaster. I will say the flavor was pretty good, but I overworked the hell out of the poor dough. I didn't bloom the yeast long enough because I didn't know any better. I just followed the directions. Um, the loaves of bread were like that thick. I bet you I could have chucked that at you, and if not knocked you out, at least knocked you on your ass. They were that dense. Honestly, though, the flavor wasn't too bad. Well, I tried again yesterday. Excellent rise. In fact, it bubbled up over my loaf pan and made a mess in the bottom of my oven. But beautiful rise, obviously. It looks a lot more like a loaf of bread, but it doesn't taste as good as the first go round. But I could have said, "Oh my gosh, I'm a failure at baking bread" the first time. Instead, I said, "Wow, that didn't work. That didn't work out very well," and I tried again. I failed to reach my goal of making a good loaf of bread. That doesn't mean I'm a freaking failure. That's so ludicrous that we would ever do that to ourselves, but we do. Anyway, a fear of success. If you fear success, it's You probably think you're undeserving or unworthy. You don't want the additional responsibilities. God, if I take that promotion, man, look at all the extra work I got to do. I don't want that. Side note, there's nothing wrong with that. As long as you know that's why you're not accepting an opportunity. If you really truly don't want that responsibility, but don't, you got to be honest with yourself and don't let the fear of the response, it might be fun. It could be really challenging and exciting. I took on a huge responsibility last year at work. And at first I was like, oh my gosh, this is so over my pay grade. I can't do this. You know what? I kicked ass at that. Totally kicked ass at that. I didn't want the additional responsibilities. But once I had them, I was really excited about it. Okay, not every day. There are some days where I just pull my hair out and go, "Oh my gosh, I can't do this." But anyway, um, sometimes you fear success because, not all of our relationships aren't always healthy, and you might end up inspiring jealousy in somebody, and you just don't wanna deal with that. Sad, but it's valid. And sometimes we fear success because we doubt our abilities, and we have a narrow definition of success and failure. Yes, those 2 are exactly the same as the last 2 for having a fear of failure. That's how closely these things are related. It's kind of the same thought process. So how do you overcome this? You can. People do it all the time. You just gotta put in a little work. First, you have to understand it. You gotta acknowledge and accept that you're feeling this way. Yes, I have a fear of success. Yes, I have a fear of failure, or both. Maybe it's a little of both. But you know what? It's okay to feel that way. It's a very common thing. You're not alone. Just accept where you are. You got to look for the potential. We tend to feel, oh my gosh, what if I fail? What if I fail? Okay, what if you fail? But what if you succeed? Look for the potential. Look at the bright side. What do you have to gain if you pull this off? Oh, I need a drink. Um, Value the growth. Even if you fail, excuse me, I'm so sorry, but I'm still completely parched. That was very rude. Even if you fail, it's a learning experience. Okay. You know that the first way that I made bread, I know that that way did not work for me. That's all it is. Failure is simply feedback. If you attach too much emotion onto it, that's your fault. Maybe you embarrassed yourself a little. Okay. You know what? It's going to happen again. That's just part of life. And so is failure. It's inevitable. You need to redefine your definition of failure and success. Are you really striving for what you want? This is something that's really been hitting home to me lately because I've really been looking back on all the things through my life and I'm like, man, I let everybody else define what I wanted. I let everybody else define success for me. And what ended up happening is A, I got nowhere because I was trying to pursue a path I had zero interest in. And B, nobody's happy because I tried to pursue a path I had zero interest in. And me being me, if I don't have any interest, I cannot force myself to do something. Yeah, anyway, you got to value the growth. You have to redefine your definition of failure and success. You know what? Maybe success to your family is for you to go out and earn 6 figures a year and work a crazy, have a fancy corporate job where you're working crazy hours. You got to sacrifice your family life. But maybe that's not what you want. Maybe you want that family life instead of chasing the corporate rat race. Make sure that whatever you're seeing, whatever you're judging yourself for as failure, make sure it's your definition of failure and success. I hope I explained that very well. I'm not sure if I did. You need to visualize your success. What would it look like if you were to knock it out of the park and reach your goals? What would that look like for you? What would be different about your life? How would you feel? How would you feel? For me, it'd be how would you feel physically? How would you feel mentally? What would change in your life if you were to achieve this goal? You need to celebrate progress, not perfection. Perfection, again, it doesn't exist. And if you stand there and look, and all you ever do is look ahead of you down the road, it's man, I've been working on this for so long, and look how far I have to go. But that's the wrong way to look at it. What you need to do is celebrate your wins. You have to make a point of celebrating your wins, even the small ones, because the big ones don't come along very often. But when you celebrate your wins, it helps you remember to take a look behind you and see how far you've come. So, you know what? Even a snail makes progress as long as you're moving forward. Yeah, would it be nice sometimes if it was faster? Absolutely. But as long as you're moving forward, you gotta recognize that. You gotta be kind to yourself about that. And finally, you gotta remember the more you fail, it's inevitable. The more failures that you're gonna have, the more successes you're gonna have. I am gonna fail probably several more times at making bread. But you know what? The more times I fail, the more I improve my odds of being successful. And once I start getting successful at it, I'll become better and better. My odds of failure will go down. Kind of cool how that works. Anyway, that is all I have for today. I hope y'all have a great afternoon. I will be back at 11 o'clock Alaska time tomorrow. And oh, by the way, please follow me on whatever platform you are viewing this on. And again, if you're making comments, I can't see them until after. So if you're trying to troll me, I ain't going to know until after. And I would assume everybody's being nice. Most people are generally nice, but it is the internet after all. Y'all take care. I'll